I'm back. I'm back. Hello, guys. Nika here with your second daily neuro nugget. If you missed the first one, please go watch that one first and then come back here. We need to talk about this picture of Maddie and Kaylee. And I also wanted to go over some of the reports of Maddie and Kaylee regarding their wounds because we're smart here. We know that they're not telling us everything there is to know about this case, but I think I just proved that we are being lied to. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. That being said, when I am done here, I will show you guys the photo that I'm referring to. And it is the one of Maddie and Kaylee when they're at the corner club. We see the two girls sitting there and they have their their phones in their hand, but there's also two big, tall beers that are sitting there in the table. Now, I'm very curious, and I'm also wondering how come nobody has asked this question before. Maybe they have. I want to know who took that photo of them. And again, when we're done here, I will put it in the thumbnail so you guys can see it. The thumbnail is basically the first picture that will show when you click on the video. For those of you who don't know how to find the thumbnail, that's what the thumbnail means, right? Who took that photo of them at the corner club? Because when we analyze it closely, both of their phones are in their hands. And what did law enforcement tell us? They told us that nobody there spent that much time with them. So who took that picture? Was it a random stranger passing by, or was it somebody that they knew and actually spent time with them and they asked for them to take a picture? Now, let's talk about those two large beers. I've always had questions regarding those two large beers that are literally, it looks like one is right in front of Kaylee and one is right in front of Maddie. Why does it matter? Because the only information that we currently have is the receipt that Kaylee signed that had 9 vodkas and I think it was like 3 juices, right? And that's it. That's all the information we have. So the beer matters because we also had a receipt for Jack Showalter, and he had some shots and some beers. So I'm just curious who paid for those beers. And I wanted to talk about the new evidence list that was recently released because it shows that Maddie also had a receipt from the corner club, but they don't tell us what Maddie ordered, which I think is so freaking weird. Why are they telling us the drinks that Kaylee ordered, but we don't know what Maddie ordered? I think that's really strange. Why are they hiding that? What did Maddie drink? Was she drinking the vodkas that Kaylee was paying for? Was she drinking the shots that Jack Showalter was paying for? What did she actually have on her bar tab? Remember, everything matters. So why are they only releasing two people's bar tabs? Why are they not releasing Maddie's bar tab? Why are they not releasing Maddie's bar tab? Is that a little bit strange? I think it's a little bit strange. Now, I'm pulling up a list of the autopsy report for Maddie Mogen, and I'm going to go through it here, right? Because it's a long list of all of her injuries. So Madison Mogen had upper body and head as received by medical examiner. Madison Mogen had lower torso and hip area as received by medical examiner. Had wounds to face and neck from above. Had wounds to face and neck from the right side. Wounds to right eye area. Wounds to the left side of face, partial shoulder and neck from left. Madison Mogen, wound above left ear. Madison Mogen, wound to neck and chest viewed from the above. Madison Mogen, wound to the left breast and chest. Madison Mogen, wound near sternum, held close to show weapon imprint. Weapon imprint. I would love to see that weapon imprint, and not because I'm gross, but because I think seeing a close up of the imprint would give us a better idea of what the actual weapon was. Because remember, when we went through the original documents of what some of the detectives thought that the weapon was, they had like this massive list, and for whatever reason, they decided to settle on K-bar, right? She also had wounds to breastplate, close up of wounds to left shoulder, wounds to elbow area, wound to top of right hand, palm down. This really stands out to me. Madison Mogen, palm of right hand, wound. Madison Mogen, wound to top of left hand. Madison Mogen, injuries to top of left wrist. Madison Mogen, wound to the inside of left hand and forearm, palm up. So here we have what? Another person with a pile of wounds to their hand and their arm. But how do you get wounds on your hand if you're asleep? How do you get wounds on your hand if you're asleep? And you don't put your hand up to cover yourself, to protect yourself. That's why these are defensive wounds, right? So this to me shows that she tried to protect herself. Also, we already know that Xana tried to protect herself. We already know that Ethan tried to protect himself. So still people are out there saying that everybody was asleep, but they're covered in wounds, head to toe, basically. And yeah, head to toe, actually, head to toe. But also their hands are covered and arms are covered in wounds, meaning they tried to protect themselves, right? So why are people still saying that everyone was asleep? So now we're going to go through Kaylee and her injuries. Let's see. Kaylee Gonsalves, lower torso and legs is received by medical examiner. Kaylee Gonsalves, upper torso and head cleaned. Injuries to face as viewed from above. Injuries to right side of face. Injuries to upper face and forehead. Injuries to left side of face, partial and left shoulder area. Wounds to upper left side of scalp. Wounds to upper left, right side of scalp and forehead. Wounds to the back of the scalp. Wounds to the back of the scalp and head close up. Wounds, fractures to skull. Fractures to skull from inside cranium. Injuries to teeth. Injuries to inside lower lip area. Injuries to inside of mouth close up. Injuries to lower lid of right eye. Wounds to neck. Wounds to left shoulder and chest viewed from above. Close up of wounds to left shoulder and upper chest. Yikes. Wounds to the back of left upper arm. Wound to left elbow. Wounds to top of right hand. Wounds to palm of right hand. Wounds to top of left hand. Wounds to palm of left hand. How do you get a wound to your scalp, the back of your scalp, if you're supposedly laying down all comfy on a pillow and you're not moving? Because they try to paint it like these four people just passed away in their sleep, that they passed away so suddenly, so quickly, they didn't know what hit them. But no, no, it looks like they were moving. It looks like they were trying to fight for their lives. That's a lot of wounds. You know what this is telling me? All of these wounds, first of all, that they were awake, because if you have all these wounds all up and down your body, all up and down your torso, on your face, up and down your arm and hand, even if you were asleep in the moment that intruder walked in the moment when they're beating you or trying to hurt you or harm you or cut you or whatever, our natural instinct as humans is to wake up and protect your face, right? So they were not, they were not asleep. They tried to protect themselves. And all of these wounds point to me that this was somebody who had to take time on each one of their victims, especially once we go through Ethan Chapin's autopsy reports, as I have done so in the past, and you see how many wounds he had all over his body, especially on his legs. And remember, he's a tall man, right? I think that whoever was doing this uh, was doing so very intensely, because it appears that the four victims were fighting actively. They were fighting back to whoever was harming them, right? All of them have defense wounds. All of them have defense wounds. So why did in the early days they only say that only Xana had defense wounds? Why did they try to make it look like only Xana? Why did they try to make this about only Xana having defense wounds when now we know that all four of them had defense wounds? How come they didn't mention Kaylee's defense wounds, Ethan's defense wounds, Maddie's defense wounds? I think they did not mention that because it was going to ruin the narrative, which is that this was caused by one lone wolf incel who broke in the home and committed this horrific crime in just a matter of minutes. This is insane. Okay. These four young adults deserve so much better. They deserve so much better. And yes, Rochelle, you're so right. Rochelle, we know that there's literally DNA proof under their nails, right? Just like Jules says, yes, it's very possible that they were tortured. This was not done by one person. By the way, if you guys have actually been in the world of true crime, and I know a lot of you have, you understand that there has not one single case in the entire country, in the good old US of A, where somebody has unalived two people or more and not gotten any wounds or bruises. And Brian Koberger, when he was checked by law enforcement, had no wounds, no bruises, no cuts, no scars, no nothing, no nothing. It just makes me very sad when I hear this, because again, they try to make it seem like only Xana had defense wounds when in reality all four of them did. They all four deserve much better, right? And what happened to the golf clubs, by the way? Because we haven't talked about that. And what I find very strange is that they don't appear to have even bothered to try to identify the wounds that were made to Kaylee's mouth and teeth. The goal of a detective work, is to try to identify each wound, what caused each wound. And here they're just like, we're not going to talk about it. We're not gonna talk about that. We're just gonna say that this was all done by K-Bar. Okay, but what about her wounds to her face and teeth? That was There was severe damage done to her mouth internally. Why does it matter? Because there could be DNA there, there could be other things there. It's going to paint a different picture of what actually took place there. Because if somebody has damage, extensive damage to their face and mouth, and it was not done by a K-bar, then that should be tried to be identified, right? We're just gonna pretend to not care that it doesn't matter. It's very, very strange. I just have to wonder, is it possible that it was done by a golf club? And where are Ethan's golf clubs? Where are they? We have all four people in this house with defense wounds, meaning that they fought back, meaning that at some point, even if they had been asleep, uh, they woke up, they were fighting back, but none of them managed to put a scratch on Brian Koberger. That is very, very strange. Again, not in one single case in the entire US of A has there ever been a crime where two plus people were unalived and the unaliver got away without a scratch. That doesn't happen. It does not statistically happen. Not even one case where that has happened. Okay. Why doesn't he have any scratches on him? Is it possible because maybe he did not do it? And when I asked some of my friends who are Navy SEALs from my time when I was in the military and other special forces, these are people with combat experience, right? And what do they say about this? They say the scene is extremely clean. This is too clean. This is too clean. Thank you so much, Tommy. Favorite troll for $2. Pro Burgers know the K bar is also a hammer, right? Yes, we sure do. Thank you so much. I appreciate the $2. Um, but we also know that Ethan's golf clubs were taken for testing. So did somebody use a golf club? Again, my combat friends say that the scene is too clean for the amount of damage that was done to all of these victims, and that it's looking a lot like major cover up and corruption in the town in this area, right? And then we, to top it off, have a person who was walking in the neighborhood post Idaho 4, and they say that they saw not once but twice the doors to 1122 King Road wide open. And when you look at all this, when we have this random latent footprint, a crime scene that is too clean, a criminal who committed this crime without previous experience, not knowing the house, no stalking, nothing, didn't get a cut, didn't get a scratch, didn't leave a hair, nothing. And then we have somebody saying that they saw the doors wide open. It just makes us wonder, were the doors open to potentially air out the chemical smell from the cleanup? And if so, then that means somebody else committed the crime, right? For somebody to have knocked someone's teeth out, stabbed four different people with well over 80 plus stab wounds in a time span of speed lightning, and somebody like Koberger who has dexterity coordination disorder, in the time span of like lightning speed without having any marks on him. And then we're supposed to believe that he just waltzed right out of the house with an unsheathed, sharp ass knife and didn't accidentally cut himself at all during this entire process. Didn't get any blood from said knife in his car. Had time to, according to Livy Gonsalves, do experimental cuts. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sherry D, for the $5. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys. Can I buy an energy drink with that, please? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay. Imagine all of the screaming that was going on if they were all fighting back. Imagine all of the screaming that was going on if they were fighting back. Because they're covered head to toe in wounds. I don't think they passed away as fast as they tried to tell us that they did. Oh, they were in the sleep. They didn't even know what hit them. Sounds like they knew what hit them because they're covered in head to toe trying to protect themselves, right? And if you're awake or or they wake you up because they're hurting you, then that means somebody is lying about not really hearing much that night, right? So, what is the possibility here? Either the crime was much longer, or there was more than one person. And in my opinion, Maddie's assailant was right handed. Why does that matter? It matters. When we look at the wounds on these victims and we see that they have wounds typically on the left side, that is usually done by a right handed individual and vice versa. And I know that people say 20 minutes is a very long time, 15 minutes is a very long time. It is a long time, but it's not a long time when you don't know how many people you're encountering in a house you have never been in. And you find also that there is a tall, 6 foot something, 200 pound something man there. If you guys have ever done any intense cardio, for example, boxing, okay, 20 minutes 15, 20 minutes in full boxing mode is extremely difficult to do, even if you're a very athletic, even if you're a seasoned athlete, even if you are somebody unlike Koberger who does not have dexterity coordination disorder, right? To top that off, in those few minutes, you would also have to fight to stop the victims hurting you as well, right? We have seen several police departments. If you guys look at the FBI, for example, you can see that they perform tests using athletic officers simulating this type of crime. Okay. None of them, when you look at these simulations, none of them could do more than two victims in 8 to 10 minutes. And guess what? When the FBI and law enforcement has done this type of simulation training, they're doing this with dummies, dummies that can't fight back. And these people were awake, so the parents have got to speak up. How come nobody cares? A lot of us have been screaming from the rooftop that this happened much earlier in the morning, especially for Xana and Ethan, right? And a lot of us have also theorized that this could have been two possible crime scenes. And then maybe a little bit later, around 2 in the morning, for Kaylee and Maddie. And now that they're releasing information that's matching up with exactly what we already knew, that they were never sleeping, that this was a lie from the very beginning. They wanted to keep all this information to themselves, hence the gag order since the early days, right? Why? Because it's implicating people that absolutely do not want to be implicated. They've done a lot to not be implicated. And then, just as a finishing touch, we have all of these people acting, pretending, lying to our faces because they think we are idiots, saying that they don't even know. They don't even know who Kaylee is. We don't know Kylie. We don't know Kayla. Really? Really? You don't know her now? You suddenly don't know her? Although we've seen you in the footage when the cop is coming to 1122 King Road and you stepped out with her and now nobody knows Kaylee, right? That reminds me of the 4chan posts where people kept referring to Kaylee as titties, saying titties had nothing to do with this. Titties was just happened to be there. We didn't know titties was going to be there. Nobody knew Kaylee in the 4chan, or they try to say it wasn't about her. And we have the same uh, people surrounding this crime saying they didn't really know this lady. They didn't really know this lady. How do you not know her? You would have seen her at parties, considering a lot of them were hosted at her own house, even if she didn't plan them. And if they knew Xana or Maddie, they would 100% know Kaylee or somewhat had heard of her. They were all roommates. This is a small town. This is impossible that they did not know who Kaylee was. At the end of the day, I still want to know who took that photo of them at the club. Again, both of their phones are in their hands, and we were told that nobody really there spent that much time with them. And when you have people, especially guys that are trying to distance themselves from Kaylee, calling her Kylie, and then somebody else calling her the other lady, we have to ask why, right? Because you subconsciously distance yourself from the victim when you are involved. It is psychology. It is psychology. And guess who's got a master's in psychology? I do. I'm not saying they were involved. I'm just saying, from a psychological perspective, when people distance themselves from the victim, it's because they are involved in one way or another. Yes, I totally agree with Holly Berry. That is a great point, right? Hunter calling her Kylie was extremely over the fucking top. I'm sorry. It's just like it irks me. It irks me. We've already seen the footage of you, bro. Do you think we're that fucking stupid? We've already seen the footage of you being out there outside 1122 King Road when the cops are asking y'all questions for the noise complaint, right? They're saying they didn't really know her. Meanwhile, there's body cam from noise disturbances where he answers the door with Kaylee. Like, you were with her that night, but then you say you barely knew her? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And he doesn't look good either. I know in the earlier live today, you guys were talking about Olivia and saying she's probably using something or whatever, that she doesn't look good. She doesn't, right? But grief can do that. Like, you can't eat, you whatever. Maybe she is on GLPs. I don't know. You guys theorize that, not me. I don't know. But Hunter, he does not look good at all. You know what else can make you not look good? Lying, cheating, stealing, pretending you didn't know a victim, keeping something, keeping a secret inside of you, having to hold all that in. That is also not good for you. It doesn't make you look good. It eats you right up, right, Nadine? Guilt eats you up, right? Thank you, Nadine. Truth Seeker says it was a bit ridiculous. Hey, Brian. Hey, Undercover Mermaid. Hey, Rochelle. Who else is in here? Where is Suds? Suds! You're in trouble. You keep missing these lives. Holly Berry. Kim being skeptical. Hey, hey. Welcome, guys. Is that Assman 12? How did surviving roommates not hear anything, but you can hear so much of the security camera footage? But they were sound asleep, right? They were sound asleep, although they were not, right? So the unknown male DNA under Maddie's fingernails was probably her attackers, as she was holding up her arms in defense. Now that we've gone through the autopsy reports, conveniently, law enforcement deemed that to be irrelevant in this case. This is irrelevant DNA. It doesn't matter. That is fucking unbelievable. They want to say it's probably from the contact she had with someone at the grub truck, even though everyone knows that you don't get DNA under your fingernails when you casually hug people at the grub truck. So if someone's DNA is under the fingernails, it's from the struggle, not a hug, folks. Wake up. I'm increasingly coming to the conclusion that they were not unalived in that house. And what did the cops tell us? What did the cops lie to us about? Well, they lied to us about a lot of things, right? Because they needed to make it seem like this was a one-man job. It happened so quickly. It's just incel, blah, 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 blah. who stalked people, and then Bill Thompson had to come out and say, "Yeah, it turns out he actually didn't stalk. Actually didn't stalk the victims." What else did they lie about? Oh yeah, they made everybody think that Maddie and Ethan were too drunk to fight back. Also, Ethan's mom said the police kept their very nice set of golf clubs. I think, and I've always mentioned that, in my humble opinion, there were at least two perps, right? The amount of injuries are so expensive. Now we are learning, according to the autopsy reports, that Kaylee had lines by her mouth. What could cause those lines by her mouth? Yes, sure, the K bar can be used as a hammer. Uh, but you know what else can leave lines across somebody's mouth? Oh, golf clubs. Okay, the amount of injuries are so extensive, and that nobody in the house was left like Dylan and Bethany, the fact that they say they didn't hear anything. Come on. That is ridiculous. Cuz I can hear my dog snoring downstairs, let alone four victims fighting for their life. And Ethan had injuries throughout, right? Not just his legs. He had injuries throughout. Is it possible that he was held down by others? Because it's looking more and more like these injuries are coming from multiple people, not just one. Multiple people. Why does the narrative keep changing? Why did Ethan have inner thigh injuries? Why does Maddie's autopsy make it sound like her head and torso arrived in separate pieces? Didn't they originally tell us that she only had 6 stab wounds? And here she even has stab wounds on her hip? I counted 19. I counted 19. I'm confused. Because with this many stab wounds, it's looking more and more like the timeline is wrong. The fact that the lies have been pushed for so long, the fact that the G fam is still asking for money. Now they're not happy with the 150K. They want more money now from Brian. It's horrible. But I do have to get going, guys. Oh my gosh, it's almost 3:30. I do have to get to work. I have a couple minutes left. Thank you guys for joining me in today's second live. If you did not watch the first one, please go watch that and let me know your thoughts. Also, please make sure to vote, not in the chat because the chat will disappear, but in the comment section. That always helps the algorithm. And let me know your thoughts on this video, right? Do you think that all of these defense wounds prove that they four were awake? If you do, please leave a 1. If you think that they were just cut up for fun while they were asleep, please leave it 2. Thank you guys for joining me in today's second live. Take care. See you soon. Bye, guys.